So, I'm pleased to be here. I'm happy to take any of your questions. I'll take political questions if you like. I'm glad you showed up. Again, I heartily recommend 5W. These guys are terrific. They're open-minded. Ron's politics are not exactly mine, but our friendship is based on professional respect and the fact that we both like to get things done on behalf of our clients. We both like to succeed on behalf of our clients. So, yes, ma'am.
We are part of the Maritza, New York Women Leadership for Obama.
One question. If you ask a question, just tell Roger who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brief introduction for him to ask him questions.
Corinne Grunberg. I'm a filmmaker. We make movies like Sister Act 2 with Big Over. And I help candidates with their campaign. Mercedes is running for the 46th district. And Maritza and I are part of the New York Women Leadership for Obama, the second group who raised the most money for Obama. And on behalf of all the women in New York, I wanted to thank you for what you did because we had major issue with Mr. Spitzer, myself. So all the women in New York are thankful to you, particularly. And I wanted to ask you, when we help candidate run, I tell them all of what to do, we do the blog and all that. But sometimes we face with people who are very like underhanded thing, like you said, instead of just sticking to issues, they start attacking personal lives and who is in your bedroom and things like that. And that's very difficult for me when I help other people. And how do you go around that with the media?
Well, first of all, I think that if you're using so-called comparative advertising or negative attack advertising, if it's not rooted in an issue, or if it's not rooted in something that would impinge on the candidate's ability to do the job that they seek, then your chances of it backfiring and actually hurting you more than it helps you are substantial. In other words, I definitely believe in negative advertising because it works. These pollings in which people tell you, oh, I hate the negative advertising, I hate it. And then they say, you know, Dukakis let that guy out on furlough for the weekend and he murdered a bunch of people. So they, in one breath, they tell you they hate the advertising, and then in the next breath, they'll tell you the exact content of what you put on the air, meaning they got it, they absorbed it, voters absorbed it, and it does affect their thinking. It's a fine line, but what I found is when people engage in truly personal negative attacks, they will often overreach and step over the line, and it can accrue to your benefit if you can bring the discussion back to issue differences and so on. I'm not sure about your comments on Governor Spitzer. I read the New York Post yesterday that he showed up at the David Barton gym for a workout, but that there were so many people kind of snickering and pointing at him that he left. Without taking his black socks off. Without taking his black socks off. So, again, I think that politics is the politics of diminishing returns. Voters are always smarter than you think they are. Always smarter. And people can see a smear, people know a smear when they see it. If you keep it based in issue differences, footnote it so your sources are clear, whether it's the New York Times or the Fort Lauderdale Sun-Sentinel or the Congressional Record, you footnote your information to enhance its credibility. It's always more efficient to say, according to the New York Times, Torossian's a good guy, as opposed to Torossian's a good guy. Always more efficient. Yes.
Could you tell me the influence that you think the 527 groups may have on this election, and groups like MoveOn.org?
Well, it's an interesting question. There's a terrific story in the Times, which I'm sure most of you saw, that really indicates that the money that was spent 4 years ago is not rolling into the coffers of the 527s the way it was, particularly on the right. And Obama's enormous financial advantage here, I think, in a certain way, dries up the crying need on the left through the activities of the move-ons and so on. But you don't see the swift boat veterans ponying up in the financial department. I actually think that that's unfortunate because I think the more voices in the debate, the better. And sadly, the 527s are the last vestige of First Amendment rights. To say that a candidate of great wealth, say Mayor Bloomberg, can put several $100 million into his own campaign, but that I can only give him, I don't know what the limit is in New York now, but a couple $1,000, I would presume. It- Okay, 2,300 is to say that he has unlimited First Amendment rights, but mine are limited. Impossible. Violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. We all have the same rights. So I actually think that the campaign spending, the campaign contribution limitations are anti-free speech. I would blow the caps off, but have instant reportability online. So if John Smith gives David Patterson $100,000, let's see it online. Disclosure is more important, I think, than anything else. Believe me, and I think Governor Patterson's doing a very good job. I like the rhetoric so far. He sounds just like Ronald Reagan to me. He's gotten tough on taxes. He understands it's time to tighten our belts. I want to see the results, but I really think that here is a guy who understands the job of being a governor. A governor is a conciliator. A governor has to bring disparate people together and hammer out consensus to get something done. They're executives. They're not senators. They're not congressmen. It's easy to go to Washington and push a button. Yes? No. Let's go to lunch. Easy. And you can be an ideological maniac on the left or right. You can attack the other people, because that's part of the job. But a governor can't afford to do that. A governor is required to bring people together and get things done. Something Eliot Spitzer didn't understand. He took the model of being a prosecutor into the governor's office. You don't rule in New York State by decree. You don't say to two houses of government, this is the way it's going to be because I said so, or to quote him directly, this is my room and we'll play by my rules. I'll cut your head off. I'm an effing steamroller, getting mine, I'll roll you over you. Would Al Smith say that? Nelson Rockefeller? You Carey? Franklin Roosevelt? Not a chance. No, I don't think so. Certainly not if they thought they were going to be quoted. In any event, I think he misunderstood his job. And I think that he took a 71% election in a Democratic state, in a banner Democratic year, as huge popularity. No one loved this man. He was the Democratic candidate for governor against a guy who couldn't raise $3 million in a Democratic state in a sweep Democratic year. He misread the numbers. They didn't love him. He still had to prove himself by doing something. So I think David Patterson understands all of this. That's why he's reached out in both houses. That's why he's coming to grips with the state's spending problems, the state's economic problems. And I think he's doing a terrific job so far. And I think he's going to be very hard to beat if he continues on this course, because he is reinducing fiscal reality in political debate, something you haven't seen in Albany in a long time. Yes?
My name is John Farrell, currently with Governor Eliot, formerly with American Turning Advertising. And my question is, when I was there, Richard Bigger was trying to translate the success of direct mail into the internet. And I guess what I'm wondering is, do you think there's anything about the internet or any kind of electronic communication that lends itself more to left-wing fundraising or advocacy, just like talk radio seems to lend itself to, right? Because it hasn't seemed to, because he has worked very hard and spent a lot of money, but
I think it boils down to who's wired. That's our problem. In other words, I think that people whose political point of view is on the left are far more likely to be wired. So they're already there, and therefore the people who want to solicit them or want to pitch them have an easy time finding them. Our problem is that our folks are just not there yet. Look at the age breaks on our demographic, and look at the age breaks of who's got a laptop and hitting every day. My parents are conservative Republicans. They live in northern Westchester. They vote. They don't have a computer. I've tried to convince them to get a computer. I've tried to teach my mother how to do email, but it's too complicated for her. She's in her 80s. It's difficult. So I think a lot of our people are not yet there. The good news is that Richard, who is really a pioneer and a genius, is developed the technology